So the Scousers are here.
Yes, come on.
Abe, I want to ask you,
right.
can you give me a quick rundown of who you are and why you decided to go against the grain of conventional medicine? Because I know we've seen your TikToks, we've seen your videos, Instagrams.
Yeah.
Tell me who you are.
Okay, so my name's Abraham, also known as the Health Food Doctor. I started Yammtree as a platform to basically give awareness for foods that people don't know of, cultural foods, foods with a rich ancestral history and medicine. You know, I'm a big believer that food is medicine. So although it looks like I go against the grain for conventional medicine, I believe I just go back to source. So I'm like, okay, food is the original medicine. So that's why I call myself the Health Food Doctor, because I was under the impression that you couldn't call yourself a doctor if you didn't have a medical doctor. But it was like, I come to realize you just can't call yourself a medical doctor. You just can't say MD. And everyone's like, oh, you know what? Like, if you're not a doctor, then you can't really trust. But a lot of the doctors that we've got today, because the medical system is written for, I mean, the medical regulations are written for corporate interests, like any business, because it's written for corporate interests. It's like, okay, am I going to put my trust in a system which profits off sickness? You know, so I believe everyone should be their own doctor, and that starts with myself being my own doctor, essentially. And yeah, I've been just speaking the truth about food, about healing, about how people have the power really to be their own doctor. Yeah. It's not as hard as what we think. I know it's always good to research. It's always good to get a second opinion, but the first opinion should be you know. It shouldn't be just doing what you're told. Take these pills, come back, do the test. You know, I believe that form of medicine is not in alignment with true human progression.
Yeah,
you know,
that's where it started. You know what I mean? And I completely get where you're coming from. Obviously, a lot of my family background's in the NHS.
Yeah.
For some cases, it's needed. For some things, I think it's education around food. And common enemy on social media, you always need one. That's what I always say. So if 100%. You're going against conventional medicine, that's all good.
Yeah, 100%. I think it really is something which we should always just be looking to challenge. Anything that we've been given or anything that's become the mainstream, if we're not challenging it, then there's always a chance that it's going to become used by people who don't have our best interests, you know. And yourself then, so if we talk about Maya, who's Maya?
Maya is a Scouser, of course, as we know. But I actually started off in the PT world. You know, very generic, basic, lifting, macros. And now I've built a cultural coaching community full of women who are trying to make lifestyle changes while still adapting and eating their cultural foods. Because what I've noticed is that across all ranges, so whether you are Caribbean, whether you are West African or from East Africa, or even if you're in South America, a lot of the foods that we consume, especially even in Southeast Asian culture, gets demonized. And now I've realized over years of working with these women that it's actually not the food itself, it's how they consume it, their lifestyle habits and how they adapt it. So I'm very big on not restricting everything, but knowing how to include it and still achieve a result from that. You know, I think obviously where you're obviously the food focus, I always like to bring in like the fat loss focuses and understanding how to obviously look at lifting across that and exercise. And now we've coached 400 plus women across 30 plus countries.
Wow.
And we're starting a new cultural coaching community this year. Amazing. It's been incredible, but everyone kind of gets it within our community that they don't want to lose that part of who they are. Because at the end of the day, food is us, food is life. But there's one thing, we've actually worked together before.
Yeah.
And I remember when we did our mini series touching on things like palm oil. Yeah. You cooked a little bit. You cooked some of the best plantain I've ever had, by the way. Plantain, depends on who we're talking to. Yeah. But I think one question I wanted to ask you is, why do you actually believe then that a lot of the cultural foods that we know we love get demonized so heavily inside maybe westernized media then?
Yeah. Do you know what? The answer is there's multi-layers to the answer, but I think it always goes back to the money, to the economics. I think that's the main driver of these things. And You know, like there's argument, there's a lot in the media right now. There's a lot of people who say, I know someone who in particular, she's like, I won't touch anything with palm oil in now. Or the chocolates, there's that big thing, all the chocolates, none of them are using real chocolate no more. They're all using palm oil. And the thing about palm oil, because I like to get straight to the science now, you know, it's a high energy food. Like any fat, it's a high energy food. So when you've got a high energy food, it's going to take a lot of work to break down. You know, there's going to be more work to break it down. It's going to have more of an impact on your diet, whatever which way it goes. You know, it could be a good high energy food, but fat is always the highest energy food, which is why they're so important. But when you've got something like palm oil now, and if you go across the whole tropics, if you go across the Amazon, the indigenous tribes in West Africa, in the Congo, they've all got an affinity, they've all got a love for palm fruits, wherever, whether it's the acai palm, whether there's the buriti palm in Brazil and all the other places. You've got the coconuts, even in Asia. Palm fruits are a big part of indigenous culture, indigenous lifestyles. And they're also very rich in fats. So when you've got that, and now you take that palm fruit, first you remove the oil from the fruit. And that's okay because the fruit is still the oil is still vibrant. It's still rich in color. But now the second stage of what they do is they remove all the color from it, meaning they cook it out completely. And people do this at home as well. A lot of Nigerian cultures, they'll bleach the stew, you know, they bleach the oil, like cook it on heats, and now all the color's gone. As soon as you do that, you create oxidized fat. And so now, because you've oxidized the fat, now the body has to deal with a high energy food, but now a bastardized version of it is in that food that once what was a food, your body's got to now treat it like a toxin because your body can't do nothing with oxidized fat. So now this is when it becomes dangerous. So it had the potential to really be a food which could have sustained your energy, but now your body has to break it down and remove it from the body. And that isn't as easy to do with fat. So this is why there's always a thing, because I used to feel like fats were demonized, and they are in a certain way, but what I think is they're all put in the same category. And red palm oil is the healthiest oil in the world. I know people have said different, but what makes red palm oil so special is the vitamin E level and the vitamin A level, which is the highest in the world. So vitamin E, we're talking a type of vitamin E called tocotrienols, which are essentially antioxidants which protect every layer of skin within the body, whether that's the gut, whether that's the brain, whether it's the heart, the skin, everything. The lungs, the coating of the lungs, you know, the intestine, everything's protected by vitamin E. So when your body hasn't got enough of it, you naturally will be more susceptible to foods which are high fat or foods which are carcinogenic because your body's missing that protective layer. So red palm oil is the highest source of it. It is the most common type of palm we have in the society, and it's demonized the most. Obviously, it comes from the tropics. It can only really grow in the tropics. So when you've got red palm oil versus oil like soybean oil, for instance, soybean oil, by way of its extraction, is already oxidized because you've had to use solvents, you've had to use all these chemicals on it to remove the oil from the soybean. Whereas like a red palm, because most of its flesh is fat, think about 50%, even more, they can just do that by hand. You see them doing in the villages by hand, you know, and it's only when it becomes oxidized by way of chemical extracting. And look, the only reason these companies are using palm oil in all the products, in all the chocolate, for one, it's cheaper because it's the most abundant. You get more oil from palm than any other crop. And then two, because it's a saturated fat, it's a stable fat, so it doesn't oxidize as much because the vitamin E's in there intact still a little bit, so it doesn't oxidize, so they can increase the shelf life of their products.
Yeah, so you're saying obviously they're exploiting cultural foods in a sense that if we believe it's bad, we don't understand them, they can use them to their advantage because that's where the palm oil conversation has actually come from. I remember the whole campaign against Nutella for a long time, and people were like, oh, like it's not healthy because it's got palm oil and they need to change it. However, what we know is that once you take a food through a processing, it changes the structure of the foods.
Exactly.
And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Instead of demonizing the flavors, the foods itself, how are we cooking it? How are we preparing it? That's a huge part of the conversation that I do believe lots of women and men don't know growing up. You know, how you mentioned like bleaching the oil and changing the structures, but not everyone is consuming things the same.
Exactly.
And I think if we're looking at how to adapt foods now, the more we know about that, and this is why I made the glycemic index the other day, because if someone is struggling with something like a health condition or they think that their blood sugars need work, what you do with that food is going to change that process completely. But knowing where it ranks is the first step, you know?
Exactly. And you big ups for making that glycemic index. You know, this is what we do as scousers and of people like us. We really do go into uncharted territory. That's the best way. And I think everyone's kind of waiting around, waiting for the government to tell us, oh, this food's good for this or this food's good for that. But if the same government are, oh
no, they're going to come and get us.
No, okay, governmental bodies, that doesn't sound any better, does it? I would say a lot of these food and administration bodies, so you've got like CDC and all of these things, World Health Organization, all of this, things are set and people kind of follow because these are seen as authorities when it comes to food. Yeah. So people kind of follow and then they don't question, where did these getting the information? You know, what is actually driving the push for certain foods and kind of the demonization of other foods. And once we can understand that, we can actually start thinking, okay, it's not so much the lying to us. We've actually started trusting people to research our foods for us, and we thought we're incapable of doing that, you know. And it's just true. Like, and it's a lot of it is because we don't have these big labs, but what we have got, which is the most important thing in the world, is the human body. So you can try something and you can know, does it agree with you? How do you feel of it? And then when you do that, I mean, you must do that all the time. And when clients do see that, they're like, wow, yeah. So instead of reading all these articles, oh, it can cause this cancer and that cancer. It's like, no, just try the food. And if it looks good, usually it's good, you know, if it's colourful, if it's vibrant, if it tastes good. Yeah. I tell people all the time, that is the best indicator. If it's flavourful. You know,
enjoyability and satisfaction and satiation is a huge part of nutrition that no one actually ever talks about.
That's it.
Like when you have people who want to make health conscious decisions, but their foods have no textures, no flavours. Yeah. It's actually harder and proven harder to adhere to. And even what you're saying about all these studies that come out now, I think it's a 10-year time frame it actually takes for something to either be proven or disproven. Mm-hmm. So this is why we lived in a world where people thought cigarettes were healthy for them until we got 10 years down the line. Mm-hmm. We found out so much more. We had so much more context. There was more studies. Yeah. And even now, a large population of people aren't included in these studies. So it's like, well, is this bias? Is this right? This is where it gets a little bit overwhelming for people as well. So let's say someone is wanting to make health changes, and we've got to talk about things that happen within the culture, right?
Yeah.
We know there's a lot of conversations around diabetes. Mm-hmm. We look at high blood pressure. We're looking at genetic being disposed to things like obesity and certain things happening inside of our bodies. Mm-hmm. If someone was to think about ditching their cultural foods to be healthy, what would you say to them? How would you break it down if they don't have to?
Do you know what? I would say that when you just like, you've got to look at where these diseases come from, and it's like, when did these start? When did these diseases start becoming more prevalent? Mm-hmm. And when we can look at that, it's like, okay, it hasn't always been this way, you know. There's the misconception that we are so progressive. We're so ahead when it comes to science and understanding the human body, and people live longer these days. That I remember hearing that growing up, that people live longer. People only used to live a certain amount of time. They'd be dead. They'd be lucky enough to live to 50.
It was normal. It was like 50. Oh, they lived a long life.
Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, but that's in certain cultures, you know, because when you look at in Africa, people have been living longer, 100, you know, plus. My dad knows, and when you look at the simple foods that they had, they didn't have all the biohacks, you know, they didn't even have the sanitation, you know, they just had the river water. Do you know what I mean? They were mixing the food in the seawater, you know, and this was all good because they were getting the B12, they were getting the iodine, they were getting the selenium, they were getting all of these minerals that you didn't even have to worry. So now when you take it to the where we are today, it's like, okay, you want to be eating the foods that you have, but we've got a question. Are these foods our original foods? Because they may seem cultural, you know, like Maggie. Do you know?
Oh no, we're not coming about our Maggie cube.
No, do you know?
I got cooked over that the other day for saying, why would you put Maggie cube in a simple egg? Like, we don't need to be doing this.
I'm saying.
But you've hit it. They're so not over seasoned, I want to say, but over adapted to fit a certain name. Like, not everything has to be jerk.
100%.
And I've noticed that this has become a bit of like a westernized approach where we jerk everything. And this is where people are believing that these foods aren't healthy anymore. But if we go back to original cooking patterns,
that's it.
None of that existed. It was all from the ground. Exactly. It was very natural, easy processes. And it could feed lots of people at one time. Now we're getting everything in a Tupperware box. We've obviously got things like how that affects the food. There's such a lifestyle implication that happens towards nutrition now.
That's it.
That when you look at like Africa, for example, they live very differently. When we're in a westernized place, of course we'd see cultural foods as bad because look at the life that we're living.
Of course.
We're all stressed out of our heads as well.
100%. So it becomes, because we're so stressed, because we're overworked, it's like these foods being so convenient. So the Maggie seasoning being there, ready. Cubes just ready to put in, the jerk seasoning being there ready in the packet. You don't even have to do anything. You don't have to you don't even have to grind it up, nothing. You don't have to blend up your own spices. You just got it there ready to go. But when we are slaves to convenience, it's our health that suffers. And I think if we just go back to the original flavors, it's like, okay, what makes jerk jerk? It's the allspice. When the reason why it's called allspice is because when the British found it, they realized that it tastes like clove, cinnamon, and I think it was nutmeg. So if something tastes like clove, cinnamon, and nutmeg, we know clove is one of the healthiest spices you can eat. We know nutmeg has got kind of debate. It's a debate for nutmeg, but we know cinnamon is also really helps control blood sugar. So if something tastes like that, usually it's because it's got some of the same medicinal properties in there. So what happens now is when you grind it up from the seed, grind it up, now you've only got about 4 weeks for it to keep its medicinal value. As soon as if it's left longer, which a lot of these seasonings are left for 6 months, a year, you've lost most of its medicinal value. You might have some minerals that are still intact, but now those foods or those spices and those flavorings, which should have been there to increase to speed up the metabolism, to provide some healthy antioxidants to the body, now they've been sitting there oxidizing.
It's changed the structure completely.
Yeah, so now they're not healthy no more. So now it is literally just flavoring. It's not got any medicinal value. The flavoring was always meant to be where the medicine is. You know, but when you got something like Maggie now, I'm fully against Maggie, you know, because, you know, like I feel like it's got
Maggie out of this.
You know what? I think she's just really got a grip on our people, and it's just like
it is excessive sometimes. And I do think that this like over seasoning thing has made people believe they can't adapt something and make it healthier, otherwise it's not authentic.
That's it.
And you know what's funny? Obviously, one thing I've noticed from coaching so many clients, right, is that when they want to approach this conversation of, okay, I want to adapt my cultural foods to make it healthier, what they get is this like few and far between approach where it's like you need to strip everything back to be healthier, or you don't strip anything back at all. And they just don't know how to make that first step towards being healthier with the foods because there's too much information.
That's it. There's a lot.
I know, obviously, and we were going to bring this up.
Yeah.
Veganism.
Okay.
That's you, right?
Yeah. Come on, yeah.
Okay, so I got opinions on people just hop, skipping and jumping into veganism. I don't really agree with it.
Yeah, okay.
I think it has to be a very informed decision.
Yeah.
And lots of women and men can become very nutrient deficient if they
100%.
don't do it correctly.
Yeah, 100%.
So why did you pick? Because you weren't always vegan, right?
Nah. So it was literally, I remember being in uni in Manchester and I met a vegan for the first time. I probably met them before, I didn't even know, because it was just completely I didn't even think about it. And I did question when I was really young, when I was like 5, 6, I didn't really like eating chicken. I just felt it was a little bit weird just seeing all the things in it. But then you get conditioned. It's like, oh no, this is what we eat. So it's just like, okay. And it's got a bit of flavor in, so it's like, okay, I'll eat it. So when I got to now uni, I started cooking for myself. So I was cooking all my own food, but I'm just cooking what I normally eat, what I thought you're supposed to eat. So this lady's like, yeah, I'm vegan. Like, I don't eat. I'm like, do you eat chicken? She's like, no. I'm like, do you eat chocolate? And
you ask a vegan if they eat chicken.
Do you know what? Because I'm like, I didn't understand it. Do you know what I mean? This is like 14 years ago. So I didn't understand it. So I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And I literally said to her, and I understand why people have a strong push against it now, because my first reaction after hearing she doesn't eat chicken and she doesn't eat chocolate, I was just like, yo, we can't be friends. And I literally said it. I said it as a joke, but I was like, yo, we can't be friends. And she just looked at me like, and I was just like, and then literally 2 years later, I was vegan. And so it just goes to show that like things can happen really quickly. The reason why I went vegan was because once I realized I got the Men's Health 100 top healthiest foods. I remember getting that book. It was one of the first books, and I was like, I love that book because I had all the foods, and I'm quite methodical in the way I research. So I'm looking at data, I'm looking at numbers. I'm not looking at opinion. This doctor said this, and it's like all these fancy hype words. I'm like, okay, what does the data say? And for me, when I seen that book, I was like, okay, this is the healthiest green. This is the healthiest grain. And a lot of the food in there was bullshit. Like, obviously, they were picking data based on
magazines and magazines.
Do you know what I mean?
Like books,
but it was a book. It was a book, but it was based around foods for fitness. So it was the first time I'd seen rocket in a book. I didn't know what rocket was. All I knew was spinach. So I was like, it's the first time I'd seen even avocado. I never grew up with avocado even. I was just like, I felt when I first discovered avocado, I was just like, wow, like I've been kept from this all my life.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't like it first time. That's the thing 100%. As well. It's like, what is that? And then once you become an avocado lover, you can't go back.
Yeah, 100%. So once I started researching food for myself, I'm like, okay, what is the most nutritious food in the world? And then from there, it was like, okay, I was eating eggs because the book said eggs are the most nutritious food in the world. I was eating chicken, but I went to more chicken breast. I was still having thigh because thighs are different. So, and then as I'm researching, that's when I started looking at the link between health and food. Mm-hmm. So it no longer just became about fitness for me. It just became about what's the health say, growing up, like me nana, she'd passed the cancer only a couple of years before that. So it happened so quickly, but I knew her diet was quite kind of poor. Do you know what I mean? It was a typical Scouse Nan diet. Do you know what I mean? It was just like chippy on a Friday. Do you know what I mean? It was the cooking with lard. It was the bacon. It was the thick bread with the butter just swimming just on, you know. Nobody's like, but I'm not trying to demonize these foods, but it was foods which are typical, and there was no focus on health.
There's no micronutrients. Yeah. There's nothing there. There's not an understanding, and I think this is what especially with the generations before us, we forget that we're having impacts of how the war changed foods, what we had access to.
Exactly.
And I think this is my sort of thing. I've always said, if you're vegan for the morals and the health and that's your decision, amazing, because I've met many. I think the problem is that veganism has become a fad inside of the fitness industry to be healthier. And the way you touched on, these were fitness foods. I think that's a huge conversation around nutrition that everyone forgets, because all these protein bars and protein shakes, they're actually here as a filler. But people are actually jumping to, if it says it has protein in and the market says it has protein in, then that's what we should be eating. That's not health, you know?
For real.
Everyone spoke about protein being the most important macronutrient, but now we're talking about fats and fibre and colon cancers and things like this.
100%.
So much information's getting spewed out at the same time and no one knows what to do.
100%. And it is a lot of like these foods are made for shelf life. They're not made for any nutrition benefit. And the nutrition is high protein and all of this is used as a way to market. And people just fall for the marketing, not realizing they're just trying to sell us cheap ingredients. Everything's got rice bran, rice sugar, rice protein. Rice is so cheap to produce and they want to keep producing it because the alternative to rice is ancient grains, which is what we should be eating. The system is adapted to make rice the main grain for people to eat. Same with wheat. And once I started looking at this aspect, it was just like, okay. Because I believe egusi soup, egusi seeds is the original, it's the original protein shake, you know? I mean, I have it in a protein shake. I have it like, I blend it up with dates and have it like that sometimes. But I do prefer to cook it. And the reason why I say egusi, because I mean, it comes from melon seeds. So it is, we all know about watermelon being a really amazing fruit to have. You know, it's quite rich in water. It's good if people want to do fasting. I've seen people doing the watermelon fast, which I agree, got to make sure it's seeded. But the original watermelon, a lot of people don't know that watermelon was created by people who wanted to create a sweet fruit because I was researching and one of my teachers, and he kind of broke this down in a lecture one day, and he was saying that the ancient Egyptians were the first ones to create the watermelon we know of today. And the reason they done that is because the melon at the time was so medicinal that they were like, we want to, and people ate it when they were sick, and we want to turn this into the food which is consumed by everyone every day, just so we don't have to keep like only using it for medicine. So that's what they done, and they created the sweet watermelon. Egusi comes from that ancient line of melons, but it hasn't been sweetened. So people don't even eat the flesh of egusi, but they will eat the seeds. And it's got,
cook it and make.
Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? They cook, and so what they do with how you make the egusi, you grind up the seeds. So now straight away when you grind up the seeds, a high protein food, you've made it easily absorbed in the body, which is why protein shakes do work, you know, because it's because you've grinded it to the point of you've increased the surface area, so it's more easily absorbed.
Processed it down to make it easy for
and
the
so
body,
this is why I say egusi is because they grind up the seeds and now they cook it, with something like palm oil, which is a high fat food, which increases the amount of nutrients you can digest. Whenever you eat a high fat with any food, any nutrients, they even put fats in supplements, because they know anytime you add fats into the equation, you increase the amount of bioavailability of the food. So this is being done as a staple dish with egusi. And then now you add to the egusi the micronutrients in the terms of, I mean, egusi itself, and this is why I say it is the ultimate protein. There is no protein on earth, and I stand by it, no protein on earth that can match egusi. I don't care if it's Asian, I don't care if it's South American, Australia, whatever it is, because it's richest. I think it's got about near enough 40 grams of protein per 100 grams. If you eat it as the seed, you wouldn't absorb all of that because you've got to break down the fiber and all that. But as soon as you blend it up with what you do and cook it, you've now increased the bioavailability. And on top of it being so rich in protein, that's how don't need to start. Like, it's super rich in magnesium because people don't know seeds are the original magnesium food. A lot of people have magnesium supplements. A lot of people have zinc supplements, iron supplements.
And a lot of foods get ultra processed to a point where the magnesium's non-existent now as well. There's a book I read called Ultra Processed People. Don't know if you've read that book.
Yeah, seen
and he talks a lot about the steps that actually gets it from processed to ultra processed. 100%. And a lot of people don't understand that so many things that we think are healthy have been void because they are supermarket biased. They are made for them.
I mean, if you think about a plant, it wants to send all of the nutrients for the next generation. So it puts all of the nutrients it's got into the seeds. So for that seed to grow a new plant. And that's what's happening with the agusi. So any of the seeds, to be honest, but agusi are just really, really good at it. If you think about the fruit of the seed, it's bitter. Whenever you've got a bitter fruit, you know there's medicine in there. Do you know what I mean? So it really is something to look at. A lot of people don't know about it. If you speak about agusi as outside of London or outside of Africa, because people know through Nigerians or Ghanaians. Other than that, people don't really know about agusi. Like they know about sesame seed or like they know about pumpkin seeds. But agusi tops all of them. And particularly, it's high in protein, which is usually lacking in plant-based protein, which is glycine, which is where you get like... glycine makes up collagen. So a lot of the collagen foods, the bone broths and stuff like that, they're just rich in glycine because the body is going to have to break that collagen. So even if you get a collagen product and people are like, oh, I'm taking my collagen every day, the body's going to have to break that collagen up into the 3 parts, which are proline, glycine, and methionine. I believe it's them 3. And then it's going to have to put it back together to make the collagen anyway. So the agusi is rich in all of those amino acids. So it's the perfect collagen food. You know, a lot of people know this if you speak to the people. And even as my sister was saying, she was craving agusi. And she was like, yo. And I was like, eat agusi. And she was like, oh, I'm waiting for me dad. And I was just like, look, like, let's make agusi because there's a reason why we love these foods.
Yeah.
And it's not by accident. It's not because we've added Maggi, because agusi on its own without the Maggi is amazing. If you add the original seasonings as well, if you add the original seasonings, which is the locust bean, this is the original Maggi, what we should have been eating, not the MSG, and yeah, if we have them with the agusi soup, as well as the original greens now. You've got the greens like the bitter leaf, the wild pumpkin leaf, the scent leaf, the water leaf, or all of these different leaves are used, or callaloo. When you add all of these as well, you've created literally a nutrient powerhouse. And this is why I say Nigerian food is and I'm not being biased because I do research food. I eat a lot of Asian foods. I eat a lot of indigenous American foods. I like to eat different ingredients. I have like acai, I love all of that. But I found nothing beats the way the Nigerians have put all their foods together.
Shout out Nige, man.
Yeah, man. And obviously it's like, there's a reason. And it's like, I believe thoroughly, and I've been doing research on this. This is just kind of a side note, that the food has more impact on people's mentality than what we even give it credit for.
Gut's connected to the brain, so it makes a lot of sense. But the interesting thing about this conversation really, Abe, is that though these foods are commonly consumed in West African households, there is a huge conversation around deteriorating health and genetic health conditions, things that are passed down. Like, I can only speak for myself. On both sides of my family, there is health conditions. We have type 2 diabetes, cholesterol problems. So though this food is incredible and it is packed with the nutrients that we're saying here, what do you think is the main driver of poor health within some of these cultural communities, if we were to go for our brown and black people specifically?
Yeah. So it is, and it's like, because even in the identification of the people, because like you've got the what we call the brown and black people, which is the Asians and the Africans and the Caribbeans. I don't even refer to myself as black. And the reason why I don't do that is it's a long list of reasons, but mainly I believe that we should self-identify what we want to identify as. And so I refer to myself as a Moor. And the reason why I do that is because when you look at history, the people who were the original inhabitants of Europe, because that's what we're talking about mainly, we're not really talking about the people in the continents, although the people in the continents are suffering the same health issues as the ones living in Europe and the ones living in America. It is the Western system that has really created these health conditions, living under the Western system. But when you go back to living how you're originally supposed to live and just be how you're supposed to be in everything, in how you see yourself, and that's why I refer to myself as Moor, because it is not a case of white and black. Being a Moor is recognizing that when you are, it is being the most indigenous type of human on the planet, essentially. And it's not really a case of who come first and how long we've been here and these people are originally associated with this people and these people went over there and conquered these people. It's not really a case of that. It's more a case of how much are you living closest to the original way of living. And it's like, if we can do that as a people, we avoid all of the issues. So,
do you think that's realistic?
Yeah, because it's hard to do in a Western system because of what we got access to. But if we can do it as much as we can in terms of if we are eating the foods of the land, if we are, and it is hard because we are all eating the same foods, which basically are produced on factory farms, they're produced en masse, the soil's depleted, all of these things. But it's recognizing as people who are the most indigenous to the planet, which if you have more melanin, you are definitely more indigenous to the mineral-rich soils of the planet. So we're talking about the tropics, and we're talking about places in Australia and Asia and everything else. It's recognizing where your genetics have come from a place which have come from a region which are naturally more rich in minerals. Yeah. So if we're going to continue to survive on this planet in full health, we have to eat more minerals than people whose genetics don't come from mineral-rich regions.
But I feel like with that as well, when it comes to looking at health, especially in Western societies, a lot of people now, because the system wasn't created around them, the health naturally is determined as lower than the counterparts, right?
Exactly.
However, if we do go to places like Nigeria, we go to Ghana, we go to South Asian countries, they still hold the same health conditions there.
Exactly.
So I think a big part of this conversation, and I love the way you talk about foods, but we really need to start talking about lifestyle, health, stress, conditions, these things that a lot of people inside their own communities don't even understand.
Yeah.
Because for me, you can move halfway across the world and be closer to the nutrient-rich foods, and that's going to make a massive impact.
Yeah.
However, what you do alcohol-wise, what you do sleep-wise, stress-wise, exercise-wise, we have a lot of people who are growing up in generations that are very sedentary, and that's why they demonize the food that they have, because that's the only thing that they're determining health on. It's quite scary when you look at, I don't know how you grew up, like, I am the only person in my family who introduced that idea of resistance training and weightlifting and cardio and things like that, not just to look a certain way, but because it's proven to improve your health, especially as women. So if we're obviously looking at the conditions now and why more people actually have these problems, I don't think we can ever talk about food without talking about exercise and all these other lifestyle factors, 100%. Can we really?
100%. And it's all one conversation. And the reason why is because you traditionally, you were supposed to go the market, grab the food, pick it up, put it on your back, put it on your head, whatever, carry it back, carry the heavy load, walk with it. And, you know, it's all one. And then you're there peeling, you're there, whether you're just having stability, you're standing, you're not sitting down, you're constantly working. Food preparation had a big, it took a lot. And you see
it was the whole day.
Do you know what I'm saying? And you see in the blue zones today, you see in the blue zones today, the old grandmas, the Italian grandmas, they're going up the hill, they're going and they're making everything from scratch.
Yeah.
There's the community aspect, there's everything involved. And when we remove all of this, we're bound to get health conditions. And the only fix I can see is to actually just look at the most nutrient rich foods. Yeah. Because if we're going to continue, I mean, it's hard to get people to move, as you probably know, because people make so many excuses not to move. You know, it's like, oh, but convenience, and it's like, it's quicker to drive and it's quicker, you know, it's like, I started walking more, and I didn't, I stopped driving, and I was just like, when I come back from Brazil, I was like, yo, I was walking everywhere.
And the differences in those countries, they literally do walk everywhere. They travel uphill on foot. They're very fit.
And for peace of mind as well.
That's what I mean. Just the mental health. And we wonder, I think the truth is, in society now, you're always getting sold something.
Yeah.
At every given stage. And we can even see that now with the World Cup going on.
Yeah.
You know, this is the first time we've had like half-time like adverts and stuff.
Yeah.
Because America as a country, they just love to sell to people.
Yeah, for real.
So the problem is that I think a lot of people, when they're trying to make health changes now, they're either, like I said, they're few and far between. They're getting told that they need to strip it completely back, and that's not realistic for them because they're working full time. You know, they've got children. Yeah. They need to make sure that they're making ends meet, so they can't do that high food prep. Or they're going to the ultra processed, the meal prep companies, the things that do not actually care about the health.
Yeah.
They're just trying to sell them again.
Exactly.
So do you feel like there's any steps that you personally made when you started to actually like transition from one way to another? Because I'm guessing you wasn't always like this.
Do you know what? I've got teeth missing because I was addicted to sugar. Like always been addicted to sugar. And this is the thing about it, when it goes back to when I went vegan. One of the benefits of going vegan at that time was it cut out all of the sweets that I could get in the shop. I was a sucker for the new chocolate bar. Like as soon as I saw a new chocolate bar, I just wanted to taste it to see what it was like, and then I'll be all right. And then another one will be out. And because we've got this constant newness, constant appeal, constant, oh, I wonder what's that. Curiosity is what gets us into these things. You know, you want to try this restaurant out, you want to try this new thing that everyone's on. And that will mess up a lot of our, because really, solid nutrition is built on eating the same things and switching up certain flavors you can, but eating the same every day, taking daily steps every single day. And it should always start off small. For me, I started cutting out bread. Before I went vegan, I started cutting out bread, and I was just like, okay, I'm seeing that my health's improving. I introduced bread again. I cut out eggs. I done things like that. The reason why is because you can't get there overnight. And a lot of people
0 to 100.
Yeah, a lot of people feel it is. And it's just, especially before summer, it's like, yo, how can I get 4 weeks before summer? And people saying...
Fast.
And this is what I'm saying.
Don't understand fasting.
And even with the detox thing now, because I'm really vocal, and I'm like, I don't fast regularly. I fast when I want to fast. Like today I ate a meal, but I probably won't eat again, maybe a while later. But I don't really do a set time like that. As soon as we start getting out of, okay, I should do this and I should do that. And it's so much to think about. But if you just be like, okay, you know what? How can I make my next meal healthier than it was last time?
Yeah.
And if you just so simple, okay, what am I eating for dinner? Because most time, what people are eating for dinner is on autopilot. It's like, oh, I'm just going to eat this. What was in the fridge? It's like, okay, what was in the fridge? How can you make that healthier? You could squeeze some lemon juice on it, because that will help you absorb more nutrients. You could also sprinkle some seeds on it. You could put some sprouted
food pairing.
Do you know what I mean? All of these things which will help. What you add is a really, really good way. It's not always taken away. And I think this is where it comes from, where food's so demonized. Like, oh, I don't want to lose my favorite foods. Oh, that's the only bit of enjoyment I have. I don't do anything, especially when you're around families and children and it's just work, and you just get your favorite food that you like to eat on your break or when you've got time. It's like, no one wants to take that away. And if you don't have to take that away, what I would say is, what is your favorite flavor? What do you love the most? Do you love sweet food? Do you love spicy food? If so, make that element. If you love chippy, I done a cooking class the other day and I taught people how to do, we done salt and pepper courgette. Do you know, I just made up. I made up on that day because it was a bunch of Scousers, and Scousers love salt and pepper and everything.
We do love salt and pepper.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, look, how can we make sure this salt and pepper is the best? And it's breaking down what is the salt and pepper seasoning. And people don't know. It's like, oh, it's what you get on the shelf. It's just the salt and pepper seasoning, but it's not. It's clove, it's ginger, it's cinnamon, it's fennel, it's sweetness, which could be dates, which we use dates in the class.
Dates are, honestly, since moving to the UAE, dates run the show. Jewel dates, they run the show.
That's what they do. But the Ajwa dates as well, these are even the high grade dates. They're what the Saudis eat, you know? Yeah. And we've always got to look at what did the highest, in these foods and these different cultural foods, what did the people really prize? And usually people, like when even in the English culture, you know, the English culture have grown up on grains, you know, grains, porridge, all of these things. So if we can have a porridge or maybe sprout the porridge, people are doing overnight porridge. So maybe if you can sprout the grain, maybe if you can have the original wheat, because people love bread.
Yeah.
It's like people love bread. Okay, so if we love bread so much, why don't we go to the most ancient form of wheat, which is the einkorn grain? And if we can get there, then we can still enjoy the bread. We can make einkorn sourdough. You can have bread every day. But what will happen is that bread won't cause you as much inflammation. The gluten structure is different. So it's not gonna cause you more issues for people who are gluten insensitive. I found when I was doing the einkorn wraps, when I used to have the food place, people were tolerating a lot more. People who couldn't tolerate gluten were able to tolerate einkorn. And it's just making these little switches every day. And I'm sure you advise people on this and show people, and you're walking them through the process. And this is what I do as well. It's to actually be like, okay, it's not a get there overnight. You're not going to be able to do a detox or parasite cleanse and automatically your gut's good. It's like,
and they're not even like, this is my problem with the whole conversation around fasting. Yeah. I do believe that not many women are doing it for the health benefits. They're doing it for the weight loss. Yeah. And that's why the fast, water drop, seeing not something change quickly, feeling like they've got all these gut issues. But there's actually no point if you're going to go right back to the diet that you had before. Like I remember, I can't remember who it was. One celebrity was like, oh yeah, I do a 3-day water fast. Yeah. And I remember seeing that she did the 3-day water fast. She's done it. Amazing. Lost weight. Because you're going to. Because you're only having water. It's obvious. But then literally next day, Domino's, all this, all that.
It's crazy.
And I'm like, if you have to do something this drastic to erase the decisions that you're making on your food, you're going to do this for the rest of your life. You haven't got the right mindset on it. And I'll look at ladies' food diaries and approaches, and it's like, they've kind of got it. They're like 50% of the way there. Yeah. They naturally go for like high protein sources. They do know what fiber is. But when it comes to pairing the lifestyle, the children, you know, actually feeling their own hunger cues, they don't have it.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
Once you start throwing exercise and desire to build muscle in there, the floodgates open then, because it becomes so much more confusing when really it's actually very simple. Like, I don't really drink protein shakes. Yeah. I don't like all that stuff. But I can get everything that I need from food because I understand it, you know?
I feel like you're the ultimate fitness influencer who's not a fitness influencer. It's like you're literally trying to influence them away from the fitness. And it's like,
I've seen it though. This is the thing, Abe, because if you look at your daily food intake, because I do a lot of calorie tracking, not for the calories with clients though, but to actually understand, let's see what you're eating. Yeah. And when you look back at it, you're like, wow, like I am really missing. No wonder I'm so tired. Yeah. No wonder I'm so bloated. Yeah. No wonder I feel like my hunger is spiking when it comes to that evening, because I'm pushing my body and my brain functions every day. Yeah. And I'm just thinking that a protein bar is going to fix it. Yeah. Like, no, let's actually look back at it. But I do believe what you've said is the small steps are the only way, because once you go 0 to 100, because I've done it. I've done keto, I've done all that. When I was early gym days. Yeah. Didn't go well.
Nah, it is. It's like, it does, because I think you...
And your breath stinks. It's weird.
Yeah, man, it's no good. It's no good. It's like these extreme approaches. And this is even my thing with the alkaline, because I do eat alkaline food. But I was at my friend's wedding the other day, and I ate some food that I shouldn't have ate. And I paid the consequences. I was sick for the couple of days afterwards. I was really ill. I'm good though, because I'm just like, I can get resilient, and it's cool, but your body will teach you. Your body is the best doctor, and the body will let you know. So it's like, go ahead, have that, and then notice how you feel. Notice if your energy becomes depleted, and if it does, then maybe that's a sign that that food, which felt like it was what you needed, wasn't actually what you needed, because now you're struggling to keep your eyes open. Now you wanting to go to bed early when you could have banged out a little bit more weight. You could have had a bit more energy, more time to play with your kids, but now you're tired and bloated off the food.
Yeah.
Paying attention to this, it's like, this is where it's most important, because what happens when you don't pay attention, when people don't pay attention, what happens is the body recognizes. It's like if I kept on telling you, Maya, look, you need to do this, you need to do this, and you were just like, yeah, and then just didn't pay attention. Eventually, I'm going to stop talking to you. I'm going to be like, you know what, she's just going to do her own thing anyway. And this is how the body responds, and the body's just like, you know what, there's no point even giving you the signal that the food you ate was bad. Let me just do what I need to do, and then the body will just store it as fat. And the body might store it as fat in you, so where you can see it, because that's another signal, or it might just store it in the liver, which it becomes like you've got people who are really thin, or it might just store it as fat in the gut cells, because there's so much inflammation in the gut from the foods that we're eating.
They call it fat on the inside, skinny on the outside.
Yeah,
so it's a phenomenon inside the nutrition space where they're like, you can look healthy externally. This is why I've never said health has a look.
Yeah, of course.
Because we've been fed this image that to look healthy is to be bodybuilder.
Yeah,
but if you know some bodybuilders, they are not healthy.
No.
And then we see the other side where women are very skinny, and with the GLP-1s coming in now and everything.
Yeah. What do you think of that?
So I'm actually not against GLP-1s.
Okay.
And the reason I'm not against GLP-1s is because...
Diplomatic answer, is that? Or?
I'm not. No.
I hear that.
Because the truth is that when we're looking at medicine, some people need something fast before things get worse.
Yeah.
And when we're looking at women who have things like PMOS now, it's been renamed, there has been a lot of proof that that can help them. The problem I'll have with GLP-1s for the rest of my life is how they are given.
Yeah.
Because if they are being sold on Facebook Marketplace, if they are being abused, if they are being sold to someone who's able-bodied and does not need it, do not have conditions outside of that when they could do it naturally, they shouldn't become dependent on stuff like this, you know? And there's a big conversation around peptides now and all these injectables. We need to remember who's benefiting from having these things. It's not us.
No, definitely not.
You might look skinny on your holiday, but the pharmaceutical companies are going to be the ones to benefit. However, I think if it's done in a way between a client who wants to do it or a patient who wants to do it with a doctor in the best way possible, the dosage is healthy for them and they can wean off it, then cool. We don't know what it's like to live in their body. Do you know what I mean? And I've got ladies now who are taking GLP-1s, doctor administrated in a healthy way, but they use my coaching and what we do to make sure they don't lose any muscle.
Right.
They actually get the nutrients in that they need, so they're not just under eating massively.
Okay.
And they're able to support a healthy lifestyle whilst they do that.
Okay.
Just abusing drugs like that is the wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
I think if it's an informed decision, it's an informed decision.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
it. And do you think because I feel like with the medication, it's like, is this, for me, I don't think it should be long term. I think
it shouldn't.
Like, it's
a period of time, and now what we're finding is that because women become dependent, and men, I don't actually know any men who've taken GLP-1s.
I know a few. I
don't myself. But I do know.
They're just not as open about it. I think this is what it is.
It's no different to steroids though, Abe, is it? Like we've got people, especially in the fitness industry.
Injections.
Oh my God, like no one should be taking GLP-1s. Mate, you've been banging steads for
years.
Yeah,
for real. 100%.
You can't say one thing for them and one thing for another. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But I do think that any medication can form a dependency.
Yeah.
So you have to be very, very... My client messaged me the other day and she was asking, Maya, do I do it? And I was like, you will never be able to do it again naturally. You do know that. Once you step into that territory, doing healthy approaches to fat loss for the future, you're not going to want to do it because this is going to give you exactly what you need. And that's where the problem lies. Abuse of them.
And then also your body becomes lazy as well as it's like, so it's like, okay, we're getting that hormone in. Okay, let me stop making that hormone. The body has to adjust because otherwise you'd probably make too much of the hormone. So it's like the body has to adjust. And I think this is my biggest thing. It's like with insulin, it's the same. It's like, obviously for diabetes, especially with type 2 diabetes, because my granddad's got type 2 and my mum's brother had it as well. And for me, I believe it's one of those conditions that you can definitely heal from.
100%.
But people never ever get there. Like most people never ever get there because it does require a whole lifestyle change.
It's when you've always eaten a certain way and then you have to understand glycemic index, glycemic loads, and all of these things start to feel like uncharted territory for you. It is easier for people to go, whatever, like I'll just self-manage with whatever pill and stuff.
100.
But I think we are what we learn and consume. So it's not uncommon that now I'll get ladies who don't sign up with me because they want to be skinny. They sign up with me because they don't want to end up like the parents, or they don't want to end up like the grandparents. And that is a genuine fear that I've had before as well. Like, you are nothing without your health, and people know that. It's just that conversation around health has been so misconstrued now. No one fucking knows what to do.
That's it, 100%. And this is the thing as well, and this is why I feel like you are a mentor, isn't it? You are a mentor, and I think
and you,
well. and it's like it is needed for those who know better to step in positions of leadership and just be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to actually try and help people because there's so many people lost. And I think, and this is what I mean about like becoming your own doctor, because if you can step in that position of authority of like, okay, I am going to research these things. I am going to try them out and see what works. You're able to help so many other people because there is a lot that runs in the fitness community and the health community that runs for profit. It's not about,
100%.
It's about how many people you can keep dependents. And it's like, if we can just keep these people as customers for years and years and years, and it's like every other business in this capitalism world. And I'm not against capitalism, but it all runs the same. And we've got to actually look at the facts. And this is why I think the information is so powerful. Because
profit and morals don't usually go together.
They don't, you know what I mean? And I think I'm a God worshiping man, and I believe that whatever you do, if you've been given a purpose in this world, if you've been given a mission, if you are getting information, if it just so happens you was getting information that no one else is looking at. So even for you, for the chart, the glycemic index chart, that was like, what inspired you to create that?
Honestly, everything I've ever done, anything I've ever posted, all comes internally from clients. They have taught me so much about the things that I didn't even think about, right?
Yeah.
So what I was finding is that a lot of them were looking at the glycemic index as a reference point. And one of my clients was like, Maya, I don't eat a lot of this stuff. Like when I go to see like my grandmum and that, like I'm eating different things. It's not on here. And it was a conversation about a goosey as well.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, it falls under proteins.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, but where do I see the number? I was like, okay, let me go and do a little bit more research, figure this out, and do it in something that, number one, people can use. If you go in to Google now and you type in, show me the glycemic index, it is going to show you a very westernized approach to nutrition.
Definitely.
That's not exactly the nutritionist's fault. They're only creating what they've been told within the sphere that they are.
Yeah.
But the fact that Black and brown people don't have that, this is where Diverse Nutrition Association came in. I don't know if you know who they are. Amazing group of people. They made the Afro-Caribbean Eat Well plate and the South Asian Eat Well plate.
Okay, I've seen,
Because I think the thing is that you need something in your brain that helps it stick.
Yeah, definitely.
And loads of information thrown at someone at once, it becomes too overwhelming. But we know that.
Yeah.
But to have a graph that's simple that you can use as a reference point is how health changes seem easier. So using obviously the inspiration from Diverse Nutrition Association and then also seeing what the traditional glycemic index looks like, I was like, I'll create that.
Yeah.
And it was incredible because not only were people so like, wow, I've never even thought about this.
Yeah.
I had people translating it into French and all these things. I was sitting here thinking, this is actually crazy because this should have been done a long time ago.
100%.
It's just that no one's actually understood how humans observe information and how we actually learn about health. So I made that one and it's sort of sparked an interest to do this for other areas. Now I've got a lot more American clients.
That's it.
They want something around soul foods. I had so many people responding to it. And it's just a tiny piece of the puzzle. I think we've only just like scratched the surface on where it could go.
Definitely. And I think when you do step in that position of authority, and I think a lot of people don't maybe do that.
It's fear. It is fear.
Yeah.
Common enemy. And I know you did a post of the day and I was laughing at the comments, right? The one that you mentioned about autism in children.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because even your first pin post was like, before you say anything, you have to pin something. Before you say anything.
Yeah, 100%.
I've got to clarify, and I have to do that all the time because
of course.
people will take an inch, take a mile.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Tell me a little bit more about that post though, because honestly, you're very good at connecting things together that you would never think. So
yeah, do you know what? And this is where I've kind of been my whole life, and this is why I don't smoke. I was speaking because weed, that is, I don't smoke anything, but the reason why is because my mind's already connecting a lot of information together.
I don't need any more thoughts.
I don't need any more because that's when it becomes like obsession. And I think I'm a little bit ADHD, I'm a little bit on the spectrum.
Aren't we all?
We're all, do you know what I mean? Especially if you're a high level thinker, then you probably are, because all it is just how active is your brain. That's essentially what it is. And I think this is what it is. If your brain is so active, what happens is you are more likely to get neuroinflammation because there's so much brain activity. Once that energy is used up, you've got your waste products like fuel, you've got the thing that comes out the exhaust. So it's like, that's just a consequence of having such a high level thinking brain. There's going to be the downfalls, there's going to be the benefits. And with the autism post, because for me, it doesn't really hit home enough when it's like, because I've been speaking about lithium for a couple of years now. And I've been on lithium now for maybe 2 years now. And it's done wonders for me. Like, for me, public speaking even was a thing where I could do it, but there was always a little bit of low level anxiety dealing with it, especially if I haven't done it for a while. And for me, lithium helped with that because what lithium does, it decreases the inflammation in the brain. Lithium is needed for 265 processes in the body that we know of. Magnesium is about 300.
Yeah. It's actually a bit higher.
Yeah. So it's like, and it's like, it can, because there's processes which rely on this process. And so there could be a lot more. With lithium, it's the same. The processes that lithium controls in the brain help everything. The Japanese done a study and they found that people who have higher rates of lithium in the drinking water, in the groundwater, lower rates of suicide, lower rates of depression, lower rates of murder, lower rates of violent crime, of all crime.
Said Japan have a lot of things. They know some stuff.
They know, do you know what I mean? And this is what happens when you have the data, and this is where we need to look at the data. But what happens is we think, who are we to look at the data? The government's looking at the data all the time and making decisions. So there's no reason why we can't do that. When you was able to step in that position where so many people are sharing things with you, you collect more data, and now you can make a better decision, which is when you come up with the glycemic index chart. So it's like, this is the power of it, the power of looking at data and thinking, you know what, I'm smart enough to look at that and see patterns. That's all it is, patterns. So I got a book called The Conspiracy Against Lithium. A German guy, Dr. Nels, he basically is trying to get the German government to approve lithium, low dose lithium. It's the same dose. It's in the same category as elements, going to get a bit sciencey. Same category as elements as sodium and potassium. So sodium and potassium are obviously electrolytes. We know that we need them every day. And we need salts in some form. When people have no salt, there's problems. When people have no potassium, there's problems. The same with lithium. And what makes lithium so much different is lithium comes to balance. So it balances the nervous system. there's nothing which regulates the nervous system more than lithium that I found, except maybe magnesium. But magnesium, lithium kind of work as counterparts. So it's like magnesium keeps you going.
Depends what magnesium we're talking as well.
That's
isn't
it. That's it. But magnesium generally, it helps the body stay moving under stress. Lithium brings down the stress. So that magnesium, taking that magnesium just might be kind of numbing the issue, which means that you never get to see the underlying issue because you're constantly taking magnesium. So your body's like, you know what, I'm all right, I can sleep. But the stress is still up there because nothing brings down and we're talking about stress in the nervous system. We're talking about inflammation in the nervous system. It's the same conversation. Stress and inflammation go hand in hand. Once I discovered that, I was like, okay, I've started having it for myself. I noticed that my sugar addiction's gone. Because when I say I had a sugar addiction, people are like, well, you claim that sugar's bad. I had a date sugar addiction. So I was eating dates like there's no tomorrow, you know, constant dates. And this is how I know something's high in sugar. It's like when you keep going for it. Once that's went as well, I'm like, okay, there's something to this. And then I've started just researching, and there was this guy, like I said, the German doctor, he's advocating and he's saying that lithium helps to reduce symptoms of all disease, or literally all disease, because when we understand how the nervous system works, it's like the nervous system is the system in the body which connects every other system. So if you've got something which brings down inflammation in the nervous system, that means it benefits every system in the body. We're talking about the hormone, the kidneys, the liver, every system in the body is benefited from a regulated nervous system. And it also means, and it's the missing link between stress, because usually when people are highly stressed, that's when everything shuts down. That's when the eating habits get worse. That's when they become immobilized, you know, depending on if it's...
even recognise the stress
in
this generation 100%. As well. People are either in the fight or the flight or the freeze or the fawn.
Exactly.
Like they're always in between those
What's
stages.
The
fawn? So you can fight, freeze or fawn. So we know fight or flight.
Yeah.
But freeze or fawn is how you usually respond to people.
Right.
So if you initiate stress, so stress has come into your life, you can freeze.
Mm-hmm.
But fawn is that you sort of like pander over it.
Right.
That's the best way for me to explain it. So let's say, for example, you annoyed me now.
Yeah.
You would like, oh, no. That's like fawning, right? And you can do that in so many areas of your life. There was a lady who came into our coaching group called Ashlyn Hughes, and she spoke a lot about the body stress response and how burnout actually affects us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, especially when we talk about nutrition and what you said about your body and your gut.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have people who say, okay, yeah, I'm lactose intolerant. I can't eat this, I can't eat that. Yeah. But then they go on holiday. And they're in a relaxed state and there is no more stress signals.
Exactly.
The body's processing food better. Was it the foods or was it how your life is just a big ball of stress that you're not even recognizing? And I think that's the problem, you know?
That's it. And I think you can't even process food while your body's trying to deal with the inflammation of the stress. Now It's like, and this is why when people do go through grief or forever, well, I remember when I've gone through grief, I don't want to eat.
Appetite's gone.
And even with the freeze was probably me. I would want to sleep as well. So that was another thing as well that was happening. I've been through a madness the past couple of years, and this has helped me deal with it. Like people don't even like, sometimes people like don't want to mention it because and I'm like, I'll mention it in a way. And I see people getting more angry than me about the situation. And I'm like, wow, like I couldn't have done this without regulating my nervous system. I actually look on what was missing, because it's not really about what you're adding and I need to have this supplement and that supplement. I don't take supplements. The only supplements I take is lithium, because that was what was missing. So I'm just adding what was missing. I'm not adding something.
The knowledge around it now. Yeah.
And it's like the CBD, that is a good thing for people. People use it to take to help with sleep. But the body's not CBD deficient. So if
melatonin as well, same with melatonin, how melatonin can actually be a dangerous supplement to have, and a lot of people don't realize this. Like you're having like 400 milligrams of melatonin.
It's crazy.
You're not going to be able to get those levels back up to actually get your sleep.
Exactly.
But it gets abused. And this is what I'm saying. Like, some drugs are harder to get, but everything that you're taking has an impact long term, and we've got to understand about that.
Yeah. And this is why I bring it back to the minerals, and I always bring it back to the minerals. In Nigeria, I was doing some research with the data as well. So in Nigeria, I was like, okay, and I'm a mad scientist, and I think you know this, and no one else would even research these things. But you know what? Got to give it to AI. AI is a wonderful tool, but don't think AI knows more than you. That's where people get it twisted, and they're like, oh shit, maybe I'm like, AI is just like...
It's just a collection of data.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, AI will always try and sway you towards the mainstream opinion. Always, naturally. That's what happens in conversation with people anyway. You know, if you bring an opinion which is a little bit like, oh, so when I brought up that thing about linking lithium and autism, a lot of people who are autistic were like, what, are you demonizing autistic people? Why are you saying that? And it's just like...
But that's the thing, you can't say nothing on social media 100%. These days. Everyone takes offense.
Yeah, and I had a doctor, so I had this GP now, and he's like, oh, lithium deficiency is not the cause of autism. He's like, I'm autistic, my wife's autistic, my 2 kids are autistic, and I give them lithium every day. And I'm like, bro, so you come on to disagree with me because you're the GP and you think you've got this authority. And that's not a dig at GPs. There's GPs who are good people, man. That's what I'm saying. Do you know what I'm saying? Pick up your pops, you know what I mean? I always had a dream of being a doctor, and I kind of shelved that dream, and I kind of found my way back there, and I was like, okay, you know what? Like we've had doctors for years and years without the term. So anyway, he's made this comment, and I just thought, like, you've said that you instead of saying, you know what, there's credibility what you're saying, because I take lithium every day for my autistic. I've been given children or lithium orotate because it's a supplement. You know, it's legal in this country. There's a lot of countries like in Europe and Germany, which is it's not legal at the minute. Instead of just being like, you know what, he's like, nah, you can't say because autism is caused by a number of different things. And I never said lithium deficiency is the cause of autism.
You said it was part of it, but that's the thing. People will jump and over-expand. Like, I had it as well. Like, even people were like, oh, you're saying watermelon's a high glycemic index. It's not. I was like, it is.
Yeah.
Go do your fact checking. And then they're getting offended.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just telling you what you need to know. 100%. What you decide to take from this is the key. You know what I mean? Because
with watermelon, it's the same. It's a high. And this is why it's important to understand the watermelon. It's like, where did it come from? It didn't come natural. You know, it was made sweet. So
honestly, it's how you actually, it's the amount and portions.
You have a big carb meal, and then you decide, you know, let me have some watermelon as well. That's going to be like enough to put you to sleep. Yeah, no, it is. And I know what foods really, because I really damage my liver by eating sugar, like crazy amounts of sugar. You know, I see kids eat a lot of sugar, and I'm like, it's nothing. It's compared to what I used to eat, and it's just like, so I have foods now, and I'm like, not so much now, but maybe a couple of years ago, I'd have a certain food which was higher than normal sugar, some dates or even just a bit of bread, even spelt flour, and I'd feel tired. And it's just like, because me body's letting me know this is giving me the spike and the crash. And this is what makes it so addictive, you know. This way where it gets into conversation of a drug. And this is why we need to understand foods which do act like drugs. They're going to be the best foods that we can't stop eating.
Pringles. You see in the conversation around Pringles and what they do to Pringles?
Nah.
So they literally made the product crispier, and they perfected the crisp.
Okay.
Because the one thing that makes foods, especially ultra processed foods, moreish is the textures that you have in your mouth.
Yeah.
Even little things like when you open a packet of crisps, there's a smell enhancement in, and it makes you want to salivate and eat. And one thing in restaurants as well, I don't know if you've ever noticed this. Yeah. So, you know, where in Japan, they'll give you edamame beans.
Okay.
Their beliefs and their food relationships is that we don't overconsume carbohydrates before we have our main meal.
Okay.
So this is to line your stomach. That's why they give edamame beans. But you go to any other restaurant, what they're giving you? Bread and butter. Yeah. Right? It's a tactic to make you want to eat more.
Right.
So a lot of people, they talk about health and foods.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest one is your food relationship. Like, you need to be able to understand why certain things do certain things.
Yeah.
Why you should not demonize everything,
Yeah.
but why you react the way you do, you know, because a lot of people are carrying a lot of food guilt and shame, especially women. You know, I deal with a lot of women who, you know, the only way that they've been able to self-regulate is through food.
It's through food, yeah.
They've never had those conversations inside the homes about their mental health or how they're feeling. So sitting in bed with a packet of crisps is the only bit of comfort that they actually get.
Yeah, of course.
So if we're going to talk about anything, you've obviously mentioned you've changed your health, but you've completely shifted your food relationships as well, I'm guessing, you know?
Therefore, it's the mental health and it's understanding food is the emotion, there's the emotional attachment to it. I didn't realize for so long, but I knew it started from when I was 3 years old, maybe. Yeah. I'd use sugar to regulate my emotions. I didn't know. I would always be addicted to sugar.
Think about homes as well. Like there's a lady, she was talking about something online and she deals with like food relationship and eating disorder patterns. And she was just talking about like things that we grew up with that really do make our food relationships stick as we get older.
Yeah.
So we teach kids to overconsume food to get something sweet.
Yeah.
So eat everything on your plate and you'll get dessert.
Yeah.
But if we were to flip that and actually say, you can have a sweet treat whenever you want in the day, so you're actually more primed to eat the full meal. These are the habits that we're carrying. I don't know if you see my hoarders post as well about like people who have homes that hoard. The reason why you're never able to stick to healthy nutrition is because there's so many options in front of you and you don't know where to start.
Right.
And you have to be able to go, what I've learned and what I've been doing. I had to do that a lot. Like I was sugar addicted.
Oh yeah.
But mine was like a shame thing.
Yeah,
like, I want
it's a lifelong.
Yeah, I want to eat.
And it's like, I think there's empowerment now. I walk down, I mean, it doesn't give me that empowerment now, but I remember walking down the chocolate aisle in supermarkets and then not getting any. And then I'll be like, yes, like I've done that. You know what I mean? Like, because that would never have happened before. And it's those little wins which are like, seem really silly, but it's just like, that's how you really got to treat it, because it's like, there's been so much marketing on a level we can't comprehend to get us onto these foods that we've got to really program ourselves on a different level to take us out of that. Part of that is switching to the healthy sugars. Part of that is understanding that sugar is a drug. And part of that is understanding, okay, if I'm addicted to drugs, because people be like, oh, I don't smoke, I don't drink, food's my biggest one. And it's like, okay. And this is why people, when they do come off drugs, they go to food, innit? It's like, that's the next thing that gives them a little bit of a rush.
It's like what Andrew Huberman said. So he actually like looked at things like alcohol, chocolate, cocaine, and all these other things. Yeah. And the dopamine response.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, just quote me, I'll get the information up properly and post and tag it. But he said that cocaine and chocolate have the same dopamine response in the brain, if not very close.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, it makes sense.
It does, yeah. It really is. Because dopamine is the, it's not really the reward, it's the excitement before you get the reward. So it's like that excitement, and it's just like, this is why people can be, this is why negative news or gossip can have the same dopamine, because people are like, wonder what's happening there. It's like that excitement of like, you don't know what's going to happen. And it's like, it's not, there's no difference between the negativity and the positivity. This is why people can get associated, even with the food guilt, even that negative feeling can be addictive. You know, when we get into addictions, but this is why I always bring it back. And this is the data I found. It was yesterday. I think it was yesterday I was looking at. And I'm like, okay, I know that Japan's put out this research. I know that America's got the research to show that the lower levels of, the higher levels of lithium in the groundwater or the tap water, the lower the rates of crime, lower the rates of suicide, lower the rates of all kinds. So I was like, okay, let's look at Nigeria. There's a place in Nigeria now, and because lithium is become a mineral that everyone's looking for because of the electrical cars and all of that, there's something what's called the lithium belt in Nigeria. And there's a few, it's mainly like the central, south, not really the north, and this is where there's higher amounts of lithium in the food, because the foods are going to be the carriers of these minerals, especially. There's and this is what I really love studying people, because you know, to really be a doctor, to really be a true actual scientist, you've got to study either people, and it's so easy to study animals and to see what animals do. I look at what the birds eat. I look at what animals do. Animals don't eat when they're sick. You know, there's that thing as well. With people, it's like when you can actually, and the governments have got these data, the medical authorities, which I don't really call them that, the business, the institutions, they've got the data. So when we look at the data in Nigeria, in these lithium-rich parts, you find that there's a better mental health rate. And you can see that in the way that people are responding to, they're more educated. You know, even in these regions which are quite poor, there's more education. There's higher fertility. But one thing what
Nigerians don't struggle with fertility. That's one thing I will say.
but you know, there's a place in Nigeria, and this has bugged me for years now. There's a place in Nigeria, I don't know if you know of it, it's got the highest rate of twins. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So this place, Igbo Ora and the Yoruba, the Igbo Ora region, and they're known.
I heard it was the Benin tribe.
I think so. Benin tribe have got a high rate as well, but Igbo Ora, there's an Igbo Ora, I think they're a type of Yoruba, but Igbo Ora, there's a place in Oyo State. Mm-hmm. It's in Oyo State. And I was like, what's making these people have such a high twin rate? And it's the high twin rate which is fraternal. It's not maternal, because maternal is kind of random. You know, it's really random. It can be genetic. Some people have got maternal twins in their family, can have more. But the fraternal is really influenced by the nutritional factors or environmental factors. And the people, they say there's something in our land that when people move in to live amongst us, they start having twins.
Everyone's having twins.
Everyone's having twins. And they do something interesting, which a lot of Nigerians don't do. A lot of Nigerians eat okra soup, you know. Mm-hmm. They eat okra leaf soup. And what's interesting about okra leaf, the okra plant in general, okra is an amazing food, by the way. If you're not eating okra, you can drink okra water. Amazing.
It is a superfood.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's good for the digestion because it's got like a gloopy nature. So it's easier on the digestion when you are suffering with some gut issues. Definitely have some okra soup. If you can get past the whole sliminess, you know, it's not just for Nigerians. That's why I say Nigerian food is their ultimate health food.
They were pouring it all over the face the other day and it became a TikTok hype. Do you know what I mean? But that's interesting as well because I'm like, oh, now you want to...
Yeah, and so okra leaf, I know after this, people will be searching up okra leaf, where can I get it, you know? But what the interesting thing about the okra plant, they concentrate a lot of the minerals in the leaves. The okra plant does this. Like, it's the plant intelligence. That's another conversation. Plants are so intelligent. And so they put a lot of these minerals, and then this place just so happens to eat this okra leaf, which is highly nutritious. And at the same time, they are in a location in Nigeria, which is in this lithium belt. Mm. So I'm like, okay, so I know that, and based on my research, I know that one thing that makes lithium so good, it allows, and a lot of people have got this MHTFR gene, which stops them from being able to use folate, and they can't have folic acid and all of that. But lithium helps folate move into the cells. So it allows the folate, instead of keeping the folate in the blood, it allows it to move into the cells. And it does the same with B12, you know, as well. It helps B12 get into the cells. A lot of people have got B12 deficiency, but when they check the bloods, they've got B12 in the blood. So then they put on injections because it's like, whoa, let's just overflood the body with B12 and hopefully it gets to where it needs to go. But it's not the fact, it's the fact that we're missing nutrients, which helps transport this into the cells. Lithium is really, really good at that. So I'm like, I hypothesized and I was like, okay, like, I already know lithium is tied to longevity. So I'm like, where do the longest living people in Nigeria live? And it's also within this lithium belt as well. And I believe it's the people of Cross River State. They live longer, and it is slightly longer, but it's still within the lithium belt. And I was like, okay, there's places in that region though, which don't have as long longevity. And those places are, or they've got a low twin birth rate. And this is raging, and this is what I do best. I verge on the place of like science, which is like most people are like, that's a stretch, that, you know. But I love it there because this is where you find.
But this is where science starts
Do you know
anyway.
what I'm saying?
It becomes a thought process, and I think, you know, what we need to allow people to do, especially when it comes to research, allow things to change.
100%.
A lot of people are very like, no, we can't, because they're just so stuck on what has been said in the past.
Yeah.
But what we know now versus 10 years down the line, like I said, it's going to be very different.
That's what I'm saying.
To where we are now.
Yeah, 100%.
So if it wasn't for people like you who are actually open to exploring different things and non-biased points of view,
of course,
we wouldn't have the information that we have today. And I think that's why you're right. People should actually go look at studies themselves.
That's it.
Because I think the best decision that you can make is your own informed decision.
Yeah.
But I know before we obviously like round up with things, I want to give you the floor to tell people a little bit more about like who you are, where we can find you.
Okay.
But what your main messages to people who want to learn more about, you know, going against the norms of what they think health is.
So I would say, for me, my main thing is to research, and it's so hard to do that now because there's so much conflict information. So one of the best things you can do is to rely on someone like myself who spends a lot of time researching. But that's still not enough. So what I do is teach people how to become their own doctor. So people can work with me, and I basically give you free access to ask whatever you want. And based on your health conditions, some people got gut issues. A lot of people got gut issues. Some people have mental health issues, and this is where I lead them to the hymen of foods. This is going to be where you need to be, like actually in the research. If it's all left to me and it's all like, you know what, I'll just eat whatever you tell me to, that might not be the best solution, because that might go good for a certain while, and then you're like, oh, well, let me just go to what I normally eat. As naturally as what we do, we tend to go back into familiar patterns. And what I teach people in the course, which a lot of people don't do, is and it's probably similar to what you do, we build the nutrition around
the current form.
The current form. And it's just like, this is the best way, because we understand it. I think it takes about 66 days. I think they've done it on average. It takes about 66 days to form a new habit, to where it becomes automatic. Some people think it's less, but on average it takes that. And if we can,
I think it's more for some people.
Yeah, I know it is.
It's all contextual.
100%.
Yeah.
But I think on average it takes about that for it to become automatic, where your body's like, you know what, I need to do this. You know, if we can reach that mark and constantly just like be doing healthy things, then we're gonna really allow things to. So I'm running a new program, which is the Disease to Ease in 72 days. And within that program, you will pass those 66 days, but you also develop a philosophy of constantly making healthier choices, bit by bit, one decision after the next, not to overwhelm people. And this is where we need to get to in health. I'm not perfect, you know, I do slip up. My slip ups, probably people think that's not really a slip up. Like, that's still healthy food. But I do like, and what I do, I can adjust easily. I know if I'm going to eat something outside, I know that whatever I'm eating inside has got to be healthier than usual. You know, I might have to fast. I might have to just eat small, things like that. So yes, so people can get in contact with me through Health Food Doctor, and then it is a case of becoming your own doctor. Like, you have what you need to become your own doctor. The body is going to let you know everything you need, and we just got to eat the right foods, which doesn't happen overnight. So you can find me in Health Food Doctor. You can find me on Yammtree. That's Yammtree. And yeah, man, start your journey today.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And as for me, Mentored by Maya, you will find me on Instagram, same name, TikTok, same name. I am actually going to be opening up a cultural community for women to step in and not just learn about their cultural foods and how to adapt them in terms of a fitness perspective, but also know how to look at their health through a different lens in terms of habits, lifestyle training, and basically going against the fitness industry because the fitness industry pisses me off.
Okay, yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Blessings.